Got to talk about a really tragic story, and this one hits home, I think, for all parents who have children away at college. You send your most important thing in your life, which is your child, away to school, and you trust that school to keep your child safe and to do everything they can to keep your child safe. I don't care if they're 18, 19, 20, 21. They're still our children. Well, the young woman you're looking at was murdered. She was murdered. She went away to school, to Auburn. And did Auburn do everything that they could to keep her safe?
Lauren Burke has been murdered. I have over 30 investigators on this case as we speak.
We have chilling new details tonight in the murder of the 18-year-old Auburn University freshman. When Lockhart was arrested on Friday, he basically waived his rights and decided to make a statement to police. He saw Lauren Burke, forced her into her car while on the campus of Auburn University, robbed her, then drove her around and forced her to take off all of her clothes. He then admits to shooting her, driving her car back to Auburn University, where he then admits to setting it on fire. Lockhart faces 3 capital murder charges for murder during a kidnapping, murder during a robbery, and murder during an attempted rape.
Defense attorneys never denied Lockhart committed the crime. Instead, they focused on his time in the Army, a man suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Jurors decided Lockhart meant to kill Burke from the moment he kidnapped her, robbed her, and forced her to remove her clothes.
We're glad that the trial is over and justice has been done in the name of Lauren. Losing a child is like carrying 2 stones in your pockets at all times. You get used to the weight, but the weight is there all the time.
All right, the man who committed this murder has been convicted. He's done. Don't even want to talk about him. But let's talk about the responsibility that universities have. And in this case, Auburn, did they have a responsibility to do more to keep her safe? Joining me right now are Lauren's parents, Vivian and Jim, along with their attorney, Drew Findling. I know our viewers know you, Drew. First of all, thank you for being here. Never easy to hear what you just had to hear again. How are you guys doing right now? Okay? Yeah. All right. What didn't Auburn do here? Let's start there, because we know the man who's responsible. Let's talk about the university, what they did or didn't do. From your perspective, Jim, what didn't they do?
Well, from my understanding, Auburn was a university that had an on-campus police department. And for some reason, a few years ago, they abolished it. And the only thing I can interpret from that is they wanted to save money. So they were relying on the Auburn Police Department, which, by the way, did an excellent job after the fact. So I do commend them for that. What I'm confused about, though, is several years ago, Auburn, from what I understand, was advised from a federal committee that went to the school to review the safety and security of the school. And they paid a good amount of money for this report, and they were advised what they should do. And for some reason, Auburn didn't follow their direction. That's number one. Number two is there were video cameras in the parking lot where my daughter was abducted. And if there were video cameras, where was the person monitoring those cameras to see what was going on in that parking lot? And then finally, the third point is I don't even know how to explain my thought on this fella, but this monster was there in the morning, waited all day for prey. Nobody showed up. He left. He came back, backed into the parking so nobody would see his license plate. So
he's lingering all day.
He's lingering all day.
And there's no campus security, just kind of, doing a ride-by check to say, hey. I have to do this because we got a response here from the university, and I'll read their statement, what they said. Auburn remains committed to a safe campus environment. We take seriously the safety of Auburn students, faculty, staff, and guests, and we continue working diligently with campus security officials and local law enforcement. Are you buying that?
No. No, they don't. I mean, like Jim said, Lockhart was there in the morning for 2-3 hours, left campus, and he was parked right next to the student dorm. And then he came back.
Next to the dorms?
Next to the dorms.
So
next
Drew,
to the dorms.
You are one of their attorneys, and you're bringing some sort of action here. It's difficult to sue a university,
Correct.
right?
Because of sovereign immunity. Correct.
Right. So what can happen here? What are you hoping to happen? And what's the theory here on how this could have been prevented?
Absolutely. Mr. Burke, on behalf of Lauren, made an administrative claim because you're right. It's a state school, so sovereign immunity, there's no lawsuit. You unfortunately have to make a claim like you have property damage, like a tree falls on your car. As sad as that is, that's the claim that he had to make. The maximum we're talking about is only $1 million. You talk about civil suits, all we read about is hundreds of millions. It's just a $1 million administrative claim. And it's been sitting with the state of Alabama. And one of the reasons it's been sitting there is because the Alabama lawyer, who I should say is Mays Jemison, one of the finest lawyers in the state and a devoted Auburn man, the first criminal justice major ever to graduate from Auburn, but yet he realizes their mistake because the issue is that in the early 2000s, they had a police department like every university does. They are the only, at this point, they are the only university in the Southeastern Conference, if we want to talk about that, that doesn't have their own police department. And the importance of a police department, and we can't go with the...
It's safety first, and we just got to take a quick break here.
Sure.
We're going to talk more, and you guys you're not going anywhere.
No.
Just stay right here. We're going to talk more about this, and we're going to hear from the assistant police chief who was the face of Lauren Burke's murder investigation.